Welcome back to Enlighten Up. You are listening to episode 11, Crystals, Atlantis, and Mike's Moneymaker. Today we are going to discuss all things crystals, and of course you can't talk about crystals without getting into a little bit of detail about our lost city, Atlantis. But before we get into the crystals and the lost city, we are going to hear from Michael and a little story about how one little crystal has become his moneymaker. So let's jump right into the episode and hear what he has to tell us. Hello everyone, welcome back to Enlighten Up. We are on episode 11, and I know that we all love the number 11 since it's such a great number. How are you guys doing, Lisa and Michael?
Doing well.
I am just fantastic.
I know you're in a really good mood today. We're all set up to knock this one out of the park with you.
I shouldn't be complaining though. It is earlier in the morning for you guys than for me.
I know this is the earliest I've ever recorded this podcast.
Yeah.
I know, 8 a.m. We're just, wow, go-getters.
Well, we're so excited today because our topic, since we briefly touched on it in episode 10 with Heather, is crystals. So she was talking about how crystals, she calls them minerals, which is true because the crystals belong to the mineral kingdom. We have the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. And so crystals belong to our mineral kingdom. And so I know that, Michael, you've been doing a little bit more research on crystals and you've had a few experiences. So you thought this might be a good podcast to kick off. So do you want to enlighten us with anything that has come your way lately?
I'm, ever since you guys started throwing around rocks and claiming they're basically, I originally thought that you guys really refer to the crystals and things like that as good luck charms when I first was introduced to the idea. I never understood it because I used to see some random people in even my own company bring rocks to the meeting and set rocks down in front of them with their, stress mints and coffee or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing? I'm like, why are you bringing in random, dirt and rocks, in my opinion? So I was really, I never even knew until really what you guys were telling me, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. Actually, no, I take that back. I forgot. I got a reading 2 years ago, a reading from a psychic. I never would do this, never ever. But my friend basically forced me into the car, drove me over there.
Yeah, you had a gun to your head, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like something a skeptic would do.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, and then left. So I had no choice but to get a reading to see what's going on, which was a very interesting reading. Perhaps I can talk about that later. But she highly recommended to me to get, what do you guys call the clear crystal? The quartz crystal, is that what it is?
There's a few clear ones, but the clear quartz is one of the major, main ones that people get.
Right. And so I got the rock. And I'm like, okay, whatever, put it in my pocket and left. And she did mention during the reading, though, that I would really have, and this is going to sound I'm trying not to make this sound as bad as it sounds, but I will have no problems with money for the rest of my life as long as, everything's going well. And in fact, money's going to come to me. I'm like, oh, well, isn't that nice? But I'm thinking, oh, isn't that great? A psychic telling me good news and wants me to come back. I want a psychic that goes, oh, tomorrow you're going to just run into someone's car and break your arm, something like that. But it's always good news and sunshine when you go to psychics.
Not always.
I know from what I've heard from the people. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about from the people that I've known that gone to psychics before. It's always been nothing but sunshine. Yeah, but I know you have had stories in the past where I don't know about you, but yeah, they're not the best news all the time. But anyway, so I grabbed the rock, and sure enough, money hasn't really been a challenge. And yes, I've been probably making more money year after year ever since, which is 2 years ago, but more money than I expected. And so I was cracking up because I was telling Nicole last week about my story with the quartz crystal lately. Because I literally, guys, I'm still not on the what we're going to be talking about later in this podcast. I'm still not on the train of like, oh my gosh, this is doing something magical. I really do feel like it's the power of suggestion. But with that being said, I still carry the damn rock around just in case.
Yeah, it's not like you're leaving that on the side of the road anytime soon.
Exactly. And so about a month ago, I had a friend of mine drop me off at the airport. And so she picked me up at my car. And I piled up my bags in her car, and I'm about to leave, and I literally am sitting in her car, and we're about to pull away. I'm like, no, wait. She's like, what? I go, hold on. And I jump out and run to my car and grab my rock, and I bring it back. And she goes, what the hell is that? I go, it's my rock. She goes, what is it for? I go, I don't know. It just makes me money somehow. And like literally,
Did the psychic tell you to get the rock? I missed that part.
No, what's that?
I missed the part. So the psychic tell you to go?
No, the psychic gave me the rock. I like a handout. Like, here you go, because I wasn't gonna buy a damn rock. So she gave me the rock, and it's the quartz crystal. I just call it the rock. And so when I'm telling my friend, it's just, I don't know, it just makes me money somehow. Literally, my phone did an alert for my Airbnb, because I Airbnb my home out here in Florida especially when I'm gone, because I travel so much. And so I was going to travel last month for 3 weeks. Literally got a message that someone wants to stay in my place for like 12 days out of the 3 weeks, right there. And like, well, there's another $1,200 or $1,300 or whatever I was charging. And I. See, I told you. And she like looks at me, and she looks at the rock, and she looks at my text message or whatever, and she was like, I want one of those.
That's
I'm like,
interesting.
no, you can't have mine. Get away.
Yeah, I didn't. You know what? I don't know, because it's not like, from what I understand, it's not like clear quartz crystal is meant to bring people money. You know, like, so like, I don't know if this psychic put a little spell on the crystal or something.
Maybe. I mean, it maybe, but like whatever it is, like I said, it just seems like it's been working. But maybe the psychic just is really good at being psychic and gave me a rock to boot.
That, or for some reason, clear quartz crystal works really well with you. Like you guys are like partners in crime.
Right, and which opened up the door to Nicole taking me out to the crystal shop. And she goes, pick out a rocks. I'm like, what are you talking about, Nicole? I don't know how to pick. She's like, just you'll find things that just talk to you or gravitate towards you. Those are the ones. I'm like, okay. So anyway, fun story. The psychic actually was really good. I keep meaning to go back to her because she said some things about random events that haven't happened at the time that were going to happen to me. For example, she talked about how I'm going to have some major problems with car tires. And I'm like, okay. But I like that. It's specific enough for me. I can look out for something happening with car tires. And so 2 weeks after my reading, I'm driving my friend's car back after, because she was like, she was drunk at the bar, so I drove her car back. I'm not going to name her name. Anyway, so I drove her car back, and literally, maybe it would have been better if she drove home. I don't know, because I was sober. But like, I ran over a curb at 50 miles per hour in her car and just stripped her left side of her tires, completely like jammed up off of her car. And I get out of the car and I'm looking at these tires, and it's like 2 weeks after the reading, and I'm like going, I had like this feeling like,
oh my God, like that was weird. Whose phone just dinged like that?
Oh, it was my computer, sorry.
Oh no, but that was like the perfect timing.
I got a text.
Was that my like bell? Like, okay, Mike,
yes.
enough talking. It's our turn.
It's like the light bulb. It's like I saw you. You know how they put the light bulb in an image to someone's head on a movie or something.
Right.
Yeah, and then the.
So yeah, I got out of the car and I'm like looking at the car, and yeah, I just got in kind of a minor middle accident, and I'm like going, damn it, this is gonna cost me some serious money. But I'm going, tires, oh, and you get these like little shivers that go down your back, and you're going, And then you're like, that. I'm not sure if that psychic is like, part devil or part angel or something. Anyway, that's my story, guys. That's my story about the rock.
Well, okay, so very interesting story. Obviously, it's doing something for you. And well, let's get down to the basics and talk about what crystals actually are and why.
Wait. Before we get to the basics, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
But do you guys have like stories too that kind of like are kind of like cool stories with your, whatever the heck you guys have? Your rocks, because I know this plural.
Yeah, I've got a few stories. I'm pretty sure Lisa has some too.
I'm not sure if I've heard any of your guys' stories.
I don't know if I really have any stories about crystals. I mean, other than using them in meditation and feeling like, they're helping like my third eye open, like, feeling a lot of pressure in my third eye when I hold them and I meditate. And
well, you see the energy coming off of crystals, though, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do see the energy coming out of them.
So describe what you see. Yeah.
It looks like vapors. It's like when I look at them, and not all the time, but I see like vapors coming out of them. Like I can see the energy that's coming out of them.
Oh my gosh. Wait. We actually have a story. So Lisa and I, we went to go see the solar eclipse in Wyoming, but before we did, we decided to spend a day in Steamboat Springs in Colorado. And there was a crystal shop there. And so, of course, we were all about like wanting to go into this crystal shop. So I get in there and I, of course, am gravitating toward, I actually found a really cool crystal that was just calling my name since I got in that store. But when Lisa walked in, because I'd been there for about 10 minutes before Lisa came in, I looked over, Lisa comes through the door and there's a massive amethyst crystal that's probably, I would say, half the size of me, near the door. And it's like she comes through the door and it's like this energy wave hits her and she like gets thrown back and like her neck snaps and it's like she goes, whoa. And
yeah, literally like, it snapped my neck. Like it was the hugest, like, just like I got hit by lightning. It was like, whoa. As I came through the door. So.
Oh, okay. No. I'm confused. You walk through the door, you see half a Nicole sitting there in an amethyst, and you had like a reaction, like was it like just looking at it was like it?
No, I actually, when Nicole said there was amethyst there, I saw that, but I wasn't focused on it at all. I just walked into the crystal shop, and I think just because of all, the energy coming off all the crystals in that shop, there were so many beautiful crystals there. The energy just hit me, and I usually start speaking light language as soon as I walk into a crystal shop. That just happens. But this time it was just a huge, burst of energy came through me.
But didn't you have okay, so this is also funny. She had a really sore neck all morning, and it's like she couldn't like straighten out her neck. It was really sore, and her neck cracked when she got jolted like that, and all of a sudden her neck felt better.
Yes, it did. Because it was, you try to crack your neck, but it was way, way up at the top, like the very first vertebrae. And when I got the jolt, my head, went like back, like forward, and then back really fast. And all of a sudden my neck just went clunk. And I was like, oh, wow, I feel better.
It's like the crystals chiropractically adjusted you.
Yeah. So like a jolt, like feeling like electric type jolt?
It's hard to explain. Like even when I speak light language, I get jolts of energy. Like I look like I have Tourette's or epilepsy or something. Sometimes sitting there and I don't know, I just get this wave of energy that comes through me, and it makes me jump. Like I just sort of jump.
You sure you don't have Tourette's?
Well, that happens, then I start spewing light language. So, I mean, I guess maybe I just have Tourette's. Maybe it's not light language.
You have
All right,
spiritual.
folks, we just debunked everything, and that's the end of our podcast series.
Okay, so let's talk about what crystals actually are, though. So,
My bad.
they're not just rocks, and I know one of my girlfriends had bought a bunch of crystals for all of her friends at Christmas last year, and she gave them to some of her friends, and her friends were like, "Oh, you're giving me rocks. That's nice." But they're not rocks. So let's kind of get clear on what crystals are and why so many people use them for healing and other things. So like I said in the beginning, crystals are minerals, so they're part of the mineral kingdom. But I think it's important to know that not all minerals are crystals, right? So a little bit of science description of them. So they're minerals are solid at normal Earth temperatures, and they're naturally occurring. So they're not man-made. And crystalline, the word crystalline, it means that molecules are arranged in an orderly repeating geometric pattern. So that's what crystalline means. So there's a geometric pattern within the crystal that forms. And if anyone's heard of sacred geometry and shapes like that, and that's, you can see sacred geometry through all religions and ancient civilizations, the use of that. You see it in crop circles and things like that. So there's a huge energetic tie into the geometric shapes and things like that. So in each crystal has its own properties, and there are a lot of healing properties that go within each crystal. And I know that Heather was mentioning in the last episode that she uses them to keep her children healthy or heal them if they get a flu or a cold, and she puts them on chakras. So certain crystals actually have energies that align with particular chakras on your body, which are the energy vortexes, the 7 main energy vortexes within your body. So there are certain crystals that will align, and they're you have different colors, and so the colors align with the colors of the chakras. So there's definitely some tie-in there. And crystals, if we think about it, back in ancient times, you think back to Egypt, any kind of royalty, jewels were huge, like the rubies and emeralds were highly coveted, but it was not just because they were expensive. Why do we think they were expensive? It's because they believed that there were certain properties within crystals that would keep them healthy or bring them riches or things like that. There were a lot of reasons why ancient civilizations and different royalties would keep the jewels within them, or have them on their crowns, or have them in their armor. Things like that would be for protective reasons. It would be for spiritual connection reasons, for health reasons. So this dates back thousands and thousands of years, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, where crystals have been used. So that's kind of a little, at least a little mini description of the crystals. Lisa, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a good job. I mean, some things I took some notes on, just crystals, but I found this interesting. Just crystals are the quintessential expression of the element of ether or spirit, which is synonymous with universal life force energy, the fundamental energy that sustains all forms of energy in the known universe. So, I just think I didn't know anything about crystals really, Nicole, until I met you, when I started, buying them and looking into them and using them. And I didn't realize that they held, consciousness, and that they held energy like they do. I just really had no idea. And, our bodies are crystal based as well. So, from what I understand.
Well, they're carbon. Our bodies are carbon based, but they're turning over to crystal based.
Right.
Yeah.
They're turned in over to correct. So, I mean, I'm just amazed at how similar to, just like humans and the energy that we carry, that these crystals actually carry energy as well. And that Arkansas is one of the main places that they're mined.
It's the largest, Arkansas has the largest deposit of crystals, and which, Lisa and I are going to get into because we're really excited. We're planning a trip to Arkansas in a few weeks, and we're actually going to do some video diaries of it, and we're going specifically for this crystal reason. So before we get into Arkansas, because that's a good lead-in for talking about Atlantis and the use of crystals during Atlantis times. So we all know about Atlantis, and it's like, the lost city. Did it exist? Did it not exist? And there's, a lot of channeled messages out there that talk about what Atlantis was, and how they used crystals. And Atlantis was believed to be the time where our civilization was the most spiritually advanced it ever has until this particular point in life where we are right now, which actually we're starting to move beyond that. The energy, the consciousness of the planet right now is rising, and the energy coming into levels that actually weren't even seen during the Atlantean times, according to other people. And so maybe we could talk about, why they use crystals, how they use crystals, what crystals were saved, and how, it's like when Heather said in the last episode, if you seek, you shall find. There is a lot of information out there about Atlantis, and I know that I've had several meditations where I am shown crystal caves. I was shown massive crystals below the earth. And I've watched myself. I had a meditation where I was brought into a cave with this enormous clear crystal that just stood like stories and stories high in the water. And I was like on this little boat, and I'm standing looking at this crystal, and I could feel, like I could see the radiation, like not the radiation, but the energy coming off of it. And I watched myself morph into a completely different person. My eyes got wider set. They became more almond shaped. My hair grew long and changed color. My clothes changed. It was like watching that Michael Jackson video where everyone's like morphing into the next person, like changing. So I literally watched myself, and I think I was shown a past life from Atlantis. And I've been told this by different psychics, I guess you could say, that I was a crystal healer during the Atlantean times. Whether that's true or not, still remains to be, I guess, could be debated many ways. But in my meditation,
you can't scientifically prove it, is what you're saying.
I can't scientifically prove it, but the meditations that I've had and what I've seen, and then the messages that come in, make me feel like that's very accurate. So let's just talk about crystal use, because during the Atlantean times, that was the golden period. It was when we had their highest level of light consciousness ever achieved on the earth plane. And they used crystals in a very high technology way. They were basically powering their entire city and islands, because there were 3 main islands and 2 smaller islands. And so, they used the crystal energy it was as a power grid, so to speak. And there were, on the island of Poseida, that was the really spiritual island. That's where all like the high learning was. That's where all the healers were, the priestesses, the priests, the scientists, so to speak, what we would call today. And there were healing temples with massive crystals in them. And they say like that it was the electromagnetic energies, they spiraled up from the Earth's core here and created this almost like a vortex of energy that allowed the crystals to be like really powerful. And so they use the temples for healing and all of that. So let's just kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, they've been using it, like you said, since, way back in Egyptian times. And anyone can read the history on crystals, but, the Mayans use them, the Indians use them, like turquoise is really sacred for the Indians. And, they even crush them up and use them like in Egyptian times for, drinking the Kool-Aid, the crystal Kool-Aid, and just, believe that there's so much protection. I read that amethyst means, I thought Michael might like this one, amethyst means not drunken, and it's used to prevent drunkenness and hangovers. I wished I had some of that the other night.
Good to know.
Well, amethyst is also known as the humility crystal.
That means I need to go back to that shop that you guys saw, the amethyst that was half the size of Nicole, and that's probably the one I need to get.
You just need to crawl inside that crystal.
Exactly. Live inside of it.
Well, what else is this used for, you said?
Amethyst is known as the crystal of humility. So that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
But so like in the ancient times, during the Atlantean times, they say the uses of the crystals were like all for benevolent use, and it was for physical and emotional healing, rejuvenation, sound and music enrichment. So it was kind of like crystalline musical instruments. They were used to amplify mental capacity. So like for meditation, downloading information, which is kind of makes sense with what we talked about with the pineal gland last week. They used it for teleportation, telekinesis. They built these underground tunnels, and the way they were able to access them was like they were these hyperdimensional tunnels created. So they used the energy of the crystals to do that. There was anti-gravity. The crystals are also used like libraries, like they store information. So think, and this is very true. So a lot of people may not understand this, but computers are made with crystals. Our computers are crystal tools. So that makes a lot of sense. So, crystals are used for storing information, and they were also used the energy of the crystals was used for plant growth and farming, agriculture, that kind of stuff, weather control, any kind of communication, and also, like I mentioned before, like the power transmission. So the crystals have the ability to transfer energy, to retain it, to maintain its intensity, and transmit it over long and great distances. So these are what all like the uses that were used in the Atlantean times. And before Atlantis fell and sunk, they were aware that this was going to happen. And the more, I guess, there was, from what I understand, from what I've read, and these are channeled messages that I'm getting this information from. So it's not like it's some lost text that is available to anyone to find. These are channeled messages. So that is left up to interpretation to our listeners on what they want to believe and don't believe. But the reason why Lisa and I are going to Arkansas in a few weeks is because when Atlantis fell, it is said that they had quite a few major crystals that they used for all of the reasons that I had just mentioned. But they had some major great crystals, and they're called the Great Temple crystals, and they were not all lost when Atlantis fell, because the all-knowing people of Atlantis knew that this was going to happen. And so they worked to move the crystals deep below the Earth's surface through these multidimensional or like these hyperdimensional, interdimensional tunnels to various parts of the Earth. And 2 of them are under where Arkansas is. And so there were 3 that were moved. One is called the Blue Crystal of Knowledge, and that one is said to be 48 feet high and 12 feet in diameter. It is said that it kind of gives off this rainbow of silver, turquoise, and cobalt blue colors, and it activates within a sacred contract. So it holds the multidimensional wisdom and the knowledge of all the ages. And then there's also the Emerald Crystal of Healing, and that is said to be below Mount Maga. And that is the heart center of the crystal vortex of Arkansas, and it is approximately 20 meters in height and 5 meters in diameter. And then the main one, the big kahuna one that they say is the platinum crystal, and that is near Eureka Springs, which is where Lisa and I are planning to go. And that one was said to be completely clear in color, but it projects a shimmering field of platinum silver, which they say consists of subatomic particle term bioplasma or something like that. But basically that's like a conscious field. And this crystal is said to bring forth like the higher dimensions and bring the completion of the divine feminine energy, which is coming through right now. Like that's the energy that we're in right now. It's like this, it's bringing in the divine feminine energy that's been lost across the globe for thousands of years. It's been much more masculine energy, and this energy is coming in to create the balance of feminine and masculine. And so this particular crystal, they say, is 100 meters in height, and it's super, super deep below the surface. And what happened is they were able to move these crystals through these interdimensional tunnels, and how they were able to move these things. Like, it's not like people are picking them up. Like, we need to understand that this is not the way we see things done now. There's the idea of telekinesis and being able to move things. And so whatever powers they had back then, they were able to move things. Just like when we think about the pyramids, how were the pyramids built? There's no way that any human could lift those things. So there has to be other powers involved that we just can't comprehend right now.
Wait.
Skeptic time.
Yay!
Yeah, the pyramids there's so many ways you can build a pyramid. Humans. And what do you mean, like, we don't know how the pyramids were built? I know there's a lot of theories out there that aliens apparently dropped a pyramid off or two, but like, it's literally easy to man up and build a pyramid if you have to, especially when you got like thousands of slaves.
Do you know how big the stones were?
Yeah, well, you know how many, like, stones can be moved if you have enough manpower, and I just don't really buy into the fact that we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever lifted one of those stones, so I'm going to say no.
I'm not saying personally, but about 1,000 me's running around with some rope,
I don't think
some
so.
hemp rope or whatever. Yeah,
No.
Things can get done.
No, I disagree with that.
All right, well, I disagree with you.
Well, that's
Move on.
fine. So basically, yeah, so these crystals were there, and right now, so what happened was they were powered down before the great sinking of Atlantis, and they were meant to come online, as we would call it, during just in the last 10 years, 5-10 years. So they started to come online, I think, around 2006, and this platinum crystal came online on the 11 portal of November 11th of 2011. And what's really interesting is, I don't know if anyone remembers back in, I think it was January of 2012, when there were like a lot of birds that just fell out of the sky in Arkansas and just plummeted to the earth and died. Did you guys ever
I don't remember hearing that.
Did you? I remember hearing that. Do you, Michael? Did you ever hear about that?
No.
Oh. It was on the news, like, you know. So I'm not making this up.
The news that we just said we don't watch normally, or the other news?
Yeah, well, yeah, the mainstream media news.
Well.
So anyway, so what happened is all these birds were flying over, and then all of a sudden they just fell to the ground. And there's you know, there's theories as to why.
Oh,
but
wait. Yes, I do remember this, because it happened about the same time a bunch of dead fish showed up too, and people were freaking out thinking it was the apocalypse about to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I remember now.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is that
Wasn't their magnetic brains all kind of confused or something like that? Isn't that what the theory was?
There was, according to this theory, it was like and I don't know how to say this correctly, piezoelectric or piezoelectric. So forgive me for if I've said it wrong. But it was basically a surge that released this crystal electric shock wave into the sky, and about 15,000 birds were temporarily stunned and then fell to the earth and died from blunt trauma of the impact, like them falling to the earth. And there's also been unusual earthquakes that have taken place in Arkansas that don't make any sense to geologists because they're not happening on the fault lines where they typically would. So it's completely puzzling the geologists as to why these earthquakes are happening where they're happening. But it's being said that it's the result of the crystals activating in that area, which was, you know, for that one, it was around 2011. So Lisa and I are going to Arkansas to check out this energy vortex and see what we feel.
So are these crystals that have been buried, you know, in Arkansas, are they supposed to rise again? Or, you know, you said they've been energized now. So
They're already active. They've all been, everything's been active by 2012. The last one to come online was 2012. So all the crystals are active now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
in 2012, is that when like the feminine energy really started kicking up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, I mean, if we talk about the Mayan calendar, everyone thought it was going to be, like you said, like the end of the world. Like, you know, Hollywood did a great job of trying to throw that story in our face.
Oh,
but, you know, it wasn't.
I have a story about that too, by the way. I'll get to that, but go on.
Well, you know, the Mayan calendar was just, it does a 26,000 cycle count. You know, I've got tons of books on the Mayan calendar. I love the Mayan culture and all that. And so I knew that it had nothing to do with what was being pitched out to us by the media and Hollywood through their movies. But, you know, basically all it was it was ending a 26,000 year cycle. And bringing in what is called the Golden Age. And so that started in 2012, December 21st. And we are what we say called, we are now in the Golden Age, which is being, the last time it was seen was during this time of Atlantis. Now, there are a lot of energies coming in towards the planet that if you're any bit aware of, like, tuned into the spiritual community and all that, there are so many blogs and reports about it, but there's also scientific facts about the energy coming in. So light carries energy. Crystals absorb light. So they take in the energy just like our bodies. Our bodies are turning from carbon-based bodies into crystalline bodies now. That's kind of what's happening as the consciousness of humanity is evolving. Our bodies are now starting to vibrate at higher frequencies, which is partially due to our bodies now becoming more crystalline in the DNA. So that means they're having that orderly geometric patterning within them. And I don't know if... Okay, so many people
you're getting a little heavy.
Okay, so I'm going to just throw this out there. We actually have crystals in our brain.
So not just a pineal gland, we have crystals.
Well, yeah, because our pineal gland is being crystallized from fluoride.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Bad joke.
Yeah, no. So we have... Okay.
You guys are not ready for cheesy jokes yet.
I'm totally
Drink some
ready.
damn coffee and throw a little whiskey in there, will ya?
We need a cheesy joke right now.
Yeah.
Are you drinking yet? Because
I think the caffeine started to kick in for me. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. I've already had my full cappuccino. I'm like buzzing right now.
Anyway, keep going, Nicole. Sorry to throw you off.
No, okay. So apparently we have 3 small crystals in our brain that, or in our head, okay, that basically receive light language. And 2 of the crystals are located over your eyebrows.
my eyebrows have been so itchy.
Yes, that's one of
Like
the reasons.
before I started speaking light language, literally for weeks, I kept telling Nicole, my eyebrows are so itchy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of our friends who are doing a lot of meditation and very into the spiritual journey and raising their own vibrations, things like that, report this. So there are 2 crystals. If you go to your eyebrows and you're looking in the mirror and you look directly down where your pupils are, so right above, right in line with where your pupils are, above, like right at your eyebrows is where 2 crystals are located. Okay, and then the third one is located just below your hairline in line with your nose. Now there's also a recorder cell receiver crystal that is on the right side of your head. Now I have a little story to go with this. So last summer, when I was really starting to, it was last fall. I was really into my meditation. I was doing everything that I knew that I could to start raising my vibrations. My meditations were getting increasingly visual and starting to get messages, starting to tune in with guides and all that. And one day I was at the kitchen sink and I was washing dishes, and all of a sudden on the right side of my head, I had this surge of pain, it was almost like electric pain that was so debilitating I had to lie down. And I don't ever really get headaches. I've been really lucky and fortunate in my life. I just don't get headaches. And so this really threw me off, and I didn't know what was going on. And it wasn't until I started to do more research and find out about these crystals that I realized that my recorder cell receiver crystal was being activated, and that I was starting to get, what happens is when we talk about crystals being libraries or being able to hold information, what happens is when we talk about the universe and all of the stuff that we can't see, our higher self can download information into this recorder receiver crystal, and all of a sudden you get information and you don't know how you got it. So all of a sudden you know something and you don't know. And Heather talked about this in the last episode. Do you guys remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, she talked about how there's times where you'll know something and you don't know how you know it. And you'll
Right.
Do you remember, Michael?
Honestly, no.
Was I the only one present during that podcast?
But apparently I hear random things in these podcasts anyway that aren't in the podcast.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. I don't know what you're hearing, but it's not what I'm hearing. So what happens is you gotta, to bring this to a level where people can understand is you look at your computer. You're on your computer. You see a file that you want to download into your computer. You download it. Where did that file just come from? How did it get to your computer? Where was it coming from? How did it get there? We don't really understand how it happens, but we trust that it happens because it does, right? And it's something that we can tangibly see on our computer. Well, the same thing is happening with our crystals in our brain and the information out in the ether. So our higher self. It's the exact same thing, but it's just really hard for us to understand or wrap our heads around it because no one can see it. There's no scientific backing, so to speak, around it to explain it. So it's one of those things where people are like, okay. But that actually does happen. And as you start to raise your vibrations and your body starts to move into higher activations, where you're able to take in more information, this is when that receiver crystal becomes activated. Or like Lisa said, the ones above your eyebrows start to tingle and burn and get itchy. Like that's how you know. So if anyone out there has been meditating and you feel like you start to get that itchiness over your eyebrows, that's what it actually is.
Yeah, my eyelids have been itchy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just my eyebrows and my eyelids.
Yeah. Well, it's all very
And
close.
that really happened just a lot right before I started speaking light language.
Yeah.
I noticed it the most. So I'm a little confused about these crystals in the brain, though.
Okay.
So this is something, is it like a pineal gland? Like you can see them, or? I don't understand. You're going to have to explain this brain crystal thing to me. I'm the skeptic now.
I don't know if you can actually see them. I would assume that they're there. Whether we have the instrumentation to see them, I don't know. That I can't tell you that. All I know is that, and we haven't got into this because it's probably down the road, but light body activation on the 8th level. Which means as you start to become more consciously aware, and you're evolving and expanding the way you think and perceive, and you start to raise your vibration so that you are becoming more tuned into to the realms that not everyone can see or hear, then that at the 8th level of light body activation, they say that your pituitary and pineal gland actually begin to grow and change shape. And as they grow, many people will feel pressure in their head, and the brain's actually getting bigger. And so you're going to feel like this cranial expansion, which I got to say doesn't impress me because I have like the biggest head ever. And I'm like, really? Does my head need to be any bigger? But yeah, that's apparently what happens. So I can't tell you, unfortunately. I don't know if they have the instrumentation to actually see these crystals, but from what I understand, they do indeed exist. And from my own experience, I feel like they exist because, like you, I also get that tingling and itchiness over my eyebrows in those spots, and at that hairline spot, I do get that. So something's going on there, and these crystals help explain it. I haven't come across anything else that helps to explain that.
So, Michael, what do you think about all this? Now that your coffee's kicked in.
Yeah, so I guess I'm still going to carry my rock around. The thing about it is this, and I did a little research too, and this is something that you cannot prove or debunk. You know what I mean? So it's like you can be a skeptic if you want, and you could easily like call it pseudoscience and call it the power of suggestion and the placebo effect and all that stuff. And but people say, well, if it works, it works. Like if the placebo effect or the power of suggestion works, it works. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I'm carrying around my rock with that thought. Like if it's something that works for me, like on a subconscious kind of level of giving me like a little bit of optimism, then go for it. But this is very interesting to me in a way because I like to geek out on science too, and crystals. When I was doing my research this week, they said the number one demographic that really believes in crystals are middle-aged, middle-class women. What do I know? 2 middle-aged women. Oh, wait, I think I do. And so I was thinking, oh, you two, I know. No, well, should I say young age? How about that? Let's go with you for you guys.
Whatever, 40.
So it's very healing and whatnot for them. And if it works for them, go for it. And if I feel like my crystal for some reason gives me a great success, and I'm the one that loves to do a lot of giving, meaning like for my personal family, my personal friends, if they're in trouble, if they need help, it's nice to have some money or whatever that I can do to help them. And so I'm more than happy to keep carrying around carrying around the crystal with that thought. I don't know if I can believe everything that both of you are saying, just because I haven't experienced a certain level that you guys have experienced. But I'm not going to knock people for doing it. I'm not mainly because it'd be casting a rock in a glass house, I guess. Get it, rock. So I'm going to say I kind of believe it. I'll go with that. But
I just, I don't know anything about it other than what I've experienced for myself. As far as, when Nicole talks about it.
And that's exactly what you need to do, Lisa, or anybody who's listening to this audience or this podcast. Is like, just go out there. It's intimidating to go in a crystal shop. As a growing up Catholic, you go in a crystal shop, you feel like, oh, this is probably not good. I probably feel like I'm going to go to hell, because it's like,
and have to go to confession after.
Yeah, I'm going to go see a priest afterwards. But like, so when I went to the crystal shop with Nicole, it was very overwhelming for me. And if I went in without Nicole, I probably would have been lost and probably would have walked out. So I guess you got to keep an open mind when you go into a crystal shop.
Well, you bring up a really good point. Let's talk about it, because I'd like to talk about metaphysical shops, like crystal shops and things like that, because there's this, when you're kind of new to this whole stuff and you might be trying to dabble into it and maybe see what it's all about. You have this perception that everything's all good and well when it comes to these kind of shops, and that's actually not the case. To all our listeners out there, like with anything, there's good things and bad things, and you really want to be aware when you're going into certain crystal shops what the energy is, because unfortunately there are people out there who will use this sort of stuff for not so great purposes. And
well, this is new. Tell me, like what do you mean?
So, like people, depending on where they're at in their conscious evolution, they may be becoming at it more from the ego. And I see this a lot in the spiritual community, where there are people who have certain gifts, and they use them to manipulate people or take advantage of people in various different ways. And this can happen with certain crystal shops or metaphysical shops, whatever they are. And so I know that, for instance, we're here in Denver. There are shops that one of my girlfriends, she's like, I will not go into that shop. She goes, the energy is really dark, and it just, no. And we have another friend, her name is Jessica, and she'll actually be on our show soon. She is like our protection queen. Like, this girl knows how to protect yourself energetically in all way, shape, or form. And it's who Lisa and I have learned how to put up our protection energetically. And she went to this store and said, no, don't you dare go near that store. Like, that store is not good. And so you kind of have to be wary of what's kind of going on, like in the store. Like, if you can kind of just tune in a little bit, see how you feel. Are you getting good vibes? Are you not? Like, go with your gut, because if you're not getting good vibes, there's probably a reason you want to get the heck out of that store. But that's not all stores. So I just wanted to put that out there, because there is that other side to the coin that people need to be aware of. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, it's just hocus pocus. It's really nothing. Like, it's all in our heads, and like, it doesn't really do anything. And that may be the case, but what if it isn't? You don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where just because you can't understand it or see it doesn't mean it's not there. So, and if we think back to the episode with Jim, and he had that experience with all those different darker energies, and he was able to see them, like, it's that kind of energy that can be there. Now, when you're going into crystal shops, and say you found a good one, and you're gone in there and you see some crystals, and typically what people do is they pick these crystals up, they handle them a lot, they look at them, they put them back down. What people don't understand is that your energy gets put into everything you touch. So these crystals are absorbing your energy and anyone else's energy that touch them. So when you buy your crystals, it's very important to cleanse and clear them when you get home. And some shops will actually cleanse and clear them for you before you leave, so that all negative energy or anyone else's energy is not in that crystal anymore. And that's something that, because I did that with you, Michael. Remember we cleared your crystals and stuff. It's, I get it. People are just like, yeah, whatever. I don't believe it. And I totally understand where you're coming from if you're of that mind. It makes sense. I totally get it. But the reality is that these are living consciousness minerals. They're the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom and the mineral kingdom are all conscious kingdoms. So they're able to take in all this energy.
Can I help you out a little bit, Nicole?
Yeah, please do.
Because of something I read earlier this week, so that's going along with what you're talking about. Since everything vibrates, and that is not debatable. I believe that because that's science. Everything does vibrate. And if we go on to what you guys are talking about with vibrations, when you are in positive vibration mode, the theory is that it will realign your crystal to be positive energy as well, or positive vibrations. However, if you're in negative energy mode, it will completely counteract any kind of positive energy that theoretically the crystal would have. So that's why, from what I've read, they're saying if you are in a great mood, put your crystal in your dominant hand, is what they said. And hopefully that positive, it's like refueling your crystal with your positive vibes. But don't pick it up when you're in a bad mood, or pick it up when you're in a bad mood to help get you in a better mood, kind of thing. That's kind of what I've read this week. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, the crystals can absorb the negative energy from you. There's certain crystals that are really good for that.
But they also can heal you from the negative energy too, but you might have to make sure you fuel it back up when you're feeling positive again.
Yeah.
I heard selenite will actually fracture or break around negative thoughts.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, selenite is a really good crystal for clearing your energy field, like any negativity. Lisa and I both have selenite wands. And, sometimes just take the wand and run it through over our body, just to kind of clear out. Plus having selenite near your crystals, all your crystals, is really good for clearing the energy of all the crystals. If they've taken on any negative energy. So that's,
I think the basics are, if anyone is new, if you're new to it, the clear quartz crystal, the rose crystal, amethyst, selenite. I think those are some of the most popular basic ones.
Right.
Yeah, amethyst is the most popular, I think, in quartz, clear quartz crystal, like you said. But
clear quartz crystal just also enhances the other crystals that it's around.
Yeah. They all do work together. So
same with selenite.
Yeah. Well, we have a question from our audience that came in through email. So, and it actually pertains to this particular podcast. So I thought we could bring it up. Basically, this is from Rachel. And she said that a psychic once told her many years ago that there was an energy vein running near her house that went directly under the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Her home was just 1 block from the museum. And on a recent visit to this museum, she saw their collection of gems, crystals, and minerals. And so she's curious if there's a connection between this energy vein and the vast amount of crystals there. Is the vein so big because of the crystals? Is there an energy vein or vortex there? And she said, just for our reference, when she was living in this house, she was living there with her sons, who were 11 and 5, and the little one used to see people in the house that her and her husband couldn't see. And one time he said a woman was watching him and she had braids and blue hair. She said also that her oldest son felt like he was being watched when he was in the house. And the psychic told her she felt Native American energy at the home from what felt like a time well before Denver was ever settled. So she just found this, and she doesn't live there anymore. They've sold the house back in, I think they just sold the house and they're not there anymore. But she found it interesting. And I guess it triggered her when she walked into this museum very recently and saw all the crystals and wondered if there was a connection. Lisa, what are your thoughts on that?
My immediate reaction is no. I mean, there's museums all over the country that have huge collections of minerals, and I don't necessarily know if that affects the neighbors, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
So
I'm feeling skeptical.
No, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. But I'm just trying to follow your line of thinking. So you don't think that because there's museums everywhere with crystals that it wouldn't, the one close to her house wouldn't affect her house?
Well, I mean, I know that obviously there's a lot of energy and consciousness, in those museums that, are those crystals being charged? I kind of wonder that when I look at them because, they need to be charged. And so they're just sitting in these cases. I don't know how much it would affect it. I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with her kids seeing Native Americans in her house or, the energies that are in her house as far as previous souls that live there. Mm-hmm. I would say that those are connected at all.
Michael?
I honestly don't think I should give my opinion because I just don't know enough.
That's okay. You can still have an opinion.
I mean, but I don't really have an opinion just because I don't know too much on that. I mean, my skeptical side said, yeah, whatever. If you want to look at it that way. But if I went full in with what you guys believe, I think I'm on Lisa's side of it. I feel like, there's lots of museums and there's lots of crystal shops. Is like the surrounding neighborhood, like all of a sudden better for it or whatnot? I don't know. I don't think so.
So,
what about you, Nicole?
Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that the vein is a result of the crystals in the museum, but I would say that the crystals may be enhancing this energy vein or vortex near her house, which the psychic said. Now, it's really interesting that this question came through because last weekend, a good friend of ours, her aunt who channels, came to my house, and I have a clear quartz crystal skull. And the reason why I got this clear quartz crystal skull is because it came to me in a dream, and I saw it. It was given to me as a gift, and after explaining this to a very psychic friend of mine, she told me that I'm actually supposed to go and get one to anchor in energy. So I was like, okay, sure, I can do that. And I didn't actually really know much about crystal skulls at the time. I'd seen them, and so I had my crystal skull out when my friend's aunt was over at my house, and...
Wait. I have to interject. He has a name. You should call him by his name.
Okay. So, for our listening...
What's going on here?
The crystal skull has a name. His name is...
Okay.
So for all our listening audience who, for the last remaining 5% who probably think I haven't, who haven't think I've completely lost it. You're probably going to think I've lost it at this point. So,
Nicole, we love you.
I
Nicole,
represent that really like.
You lost it many months ago, but I still love you.
Okay, so they say that the crystal skulls are carved that way. So you get a piece of crystal and whoever works with it carves it into a crystal skull. And it contains certain frequencies once that skull is kind of shaped. And it happens when the eyes are carved into the skull. And it creates a unique energy field that is kind of to some degree compared to the collective consciousness of humanity. Now, when from what I've read through numerous places and through speaking to various different people, that when you get a crystal skull, that each one holds its own consciousness. And so it also has a name, and you can find that out through meditation. And so the first thing I did after I cleansed and cleared my crystal and charged it with my energy is I sat in meditation with it, and a name instantly came to me. And apparently my crystal skull name is Eli. So Eli was sitting out in my family room in my living area when my friend's aunt came over, and we all sat. She wanted to see the crystal because there's an energetic connection between her and my crystal and myself, because she actually was brought into my meditation, and I was told to communicate with her with this crystal. So she finally was like, I want to see your crystal. So she came over, and we're sitting in the house, and she was instantly blown away by the intensity of the energy of this crystal. And I think, Lisa, you felt it because Eli came with us to the solar eclipse.
He did. He even put his solar eclipse glasses on.
I know, we've got a picture.
Wait.
He watched it.
Wait. You brought your crystal skull with you to see the eclipse.
Yes.
And did you put the protective glasses over the crystal skull?
Lisa did, for a picture.
Oh my goodness, you guys have lost it, both of you.
Lisa did it as a joke. We weren't doing it because we're not that completely far gone.
I don't know about that.
So anyway, as she was there, she kind of was going into channeling. And she said that there was an energy vortex around the house, and that there was Native American energy, strong, of a chief from the mountains. He's like the mountain chief or something, and he was kind of watching over the area, and there's strong energy here.
Oh, that's Boulder, not Chief Niwot.
And she said some other things, but she also got a message from Eli, and it was kind of funny the way it came through. Was she couldn't hear me because my friend was sitting beside me, and I kind of like whispered over to her. I go, I think I'm going to bring him to the eclipse. And all of a sudden, her aunt goes, see you at the eclipse, girls. And I was just like, what? That was really weird. And my friend just looked at me and are like, okay, so Eli's coming to the eclipse. Yeah, so he came. So that's why I brought.
Has he come to you in your meditation yet and told you how much he enjoyed the eclipse and seeing the corona and all that?
No, we haven't had a conversation about that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is getting a little weird.
Yeah.
But
That's okay.
It's interesting though, because that she brought up the Native American energy in the house here in Denver, and this woman Rachel, who emailed us, felt the Native American energy near her house. So I don't know. I definitely believe that if what her children saw was there, because children have that ability to see things because they're not yet programmed the way we are to disbelieve everything that we see and just write it off as imagination or what have you.
I believe that. I mean, I believe that in all those things. I just don't necessarily think that it has a lot to do with the museum, unless it's like what you said. Maybe, it's enhancing the energies.
Yeah, I don't think that they're tied in. I don't think that they're like one's creating the other. I just feel like perhaps the energy vein or whatever that the psychic is saying is there may be enhanced by all the crystals close by, but that's a really hard one to really go into. I'm not that versed on it. So, and I'm definitely not a psychic. So,
and we're not experts in crystals by any means. So
yeah. So But that was a question that came in. So thank you, Rachel, for sending that in. And to our listening audience, if you do have any questions, you can send them into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And we're happy to get those on the show and answer them in any of our podcasts. And they can be about anything. And if we find that the topic is relatable, we'll bring them in. Or if we see your question and we think it's really good, we may make a topic right around that question. So keep that in mind to all of our listeners.
Or if there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. So, we told people that they need to cleanse and clear their crystals when they get them. Should we tell them how to do that? Because maybe people are just going to throw them in some soapy water and think that that's what you do. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but Himalayan salt is one way to set them in water with Himalayan salt, and to also let the sun charge them, and the moon.
Yeah, when you get your crystals and it's a full moon out, put your crystals out that night. The energy of the moon recharges them. So that's definitely something. If you've got crystals and you're not doing that, that's something that you can do. You can also, if you're into smudging, and if you know how to smudge, there is, what happens is you'll take resin or incense and you place it over a charcoal piece that you've lit, and it heats up the resin to give off like the smoke. And what you do is, usually what you'll see is people will have a feather and to blow the smoke in a certain direction. And what you'll do is you'll do that to your crystals. So you'll using a feather, or even if it's not a feather, a hand or a piece of paper to wave it. You're basically just saying, I'm cleansing and clearing this crystal of all negative energy, and all energy that will not serve me to my highest good. And so you just do that around the crystal for a little bit of time, not very long, just 10, 30 seconds. And then once you've done that,
don't forget that part.
Pardon?
Transmuting the energy. You don't want to leave any negative energy lying around.
Yeah, you can ask for the energies to be transmuted into a higher frequency. Whatever frequency you want to choose: unconditional love, forgiveness, gratitude, whatever. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hold your crystal in your hand and ask that the crystal be charged with your energy. And you just hold it there for whatever feels right for you, and then it's done. Michael, what are you thinking right now?
I just put mine in the dishwasher, so it's all cool after that.
Great. I think that this topic is a lot like all the other topics that we have, that it really comes down to what feels right to you, and it's faith, because it's obviously there's no science based, for whether you have crystals in your brain, or, whether these things are giving off energy, or, and everybody has a different experience. So, I don't think it's about, it's like, do you believe in God? Can we prove he's there? So you have to do what feels right for you. And when you go into these crystal shops, sometimes you're just drawn to certain things, or maybe you don't feel good and you want to leave and you don't like anything. But whatever just feels right for you, you'll know. Don't force it upon yourself or feel like something magical is supposed to happen because you're holding this rock. It's just...
I so agree with you, Lisa. It's like, people ask me lots of times in my life, and I'm sure you guys too, do you believe in God? I'm like, yeah, of course. And they're like, really? I'm like, why would I not? What's the advantage of not believing in God? I feel like it's depressing not to believe in a higher force,
Yeah,
and like the intimidation of walking into a crystal shop the first time with Nicole, it felt like the scene from that Indiana Jones movie when he had to pick the right chalice to drink out of. And you're like, if I pick wrong, I'm going to be screwed. Which is like, I don't think that's the type of pressure that you're supposed to have when you're doing that. And I guess I do believe what you just said, where it's like, if something's drawn to you, if you're drawn to something, go for it.
Yeah, if it just feels right. In fact, Nicole and I went into a crystal shop a few months ago, and I was actually looking for a crystal book. So, we were walking around and went back to the book section, and I picked up a book, and it was just really, when I picked up the book, I almost dropped it. And as I went to like catch it, it opened up to a page. And I just knew immediately like that wasn't an accident. Like that it was just trying to tell me that that's the crystal that I should get. And it was Larimar. And I started reading about it. And Larimar brings a lot of feminine energy in and very soothing stone. But as I was reading about it, I just looked at Nicole and I'm like, well, now I know now I know which crystal I'm supposed to get. It's just, if you just pay, like we've talked about in all the other podcasts, just paying attention to little things like that. Signs.
The timing of your computer is really interesting.
I just got a text, but when you hear a bell, an angel got its wings, right? Or something like that. But yeah, so I mean, you just have to do what's right for you and what feels right for you. And Nicole was talking about the maybe people open these crystal shops for the wrong reasons because they're maybe preying on people who their energy and people who are new to this stuff and kind of coming in. To me, that's no different than the people that go to church. That it's supposed to be a sacred place where you find God, but that's where they say the devil likes to hang out, right? Because he knows that there's
like the false you're talking about the false preacher.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just basically there for the money and trying to manipulate people into that.
Well,
the deceivers.
Not necessarily the preacher, but just people that. This is probably a really bad analogy, but it's like pedophiles who hang around places where kids are. It's just like you're gonna, if whether at a crystal shop or a church or whatever, you just you have to just be careful and you have to use that discernment. And if you have a funny feeling in your stomach or something just doesn't feel right, you don't need to analyze. The ego doesn't need to have to be able to explain it. If it just doesn't feel right, then don't do it. And if it feels right, do it. I just think that that's something that we don't pay attention to all the time. And your gut is normally right, or you have that little voice in your head that says something. Don't just push it aside and just say, oh, it's just a crystal shop, everything's fine. Just listen to it. Listen to yourself. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to all of this stuff. Is just do what feels right to you.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
And if none of this resonates with you, that's cool too. It's not for everyone. To our listening audience, Lisa and I are taking a road trip out to Arkansas in a few weeks. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating some video diaries of what's happening when we're out there. We may even go mining for crystals because you can do that there. And we're gonna be doing this through YouTube. And so if you want to go to our YouTube channel, enLIGHTenUP, and subscribe to our channel, because what we may do is live videos through YouTube of what's actually happening in the moment. And nothing may happen or something may happen. We don't know, but we're going to go there and we're just going to go with the flow and see what happens. We're totally road tripping it in a van that's kit out with a mattress and a little mini kitchen, and we're going to live in it for 3 or 4 days and just go out there into the mountains near Eureka Springs and see what little adventures come our way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that actually kind of sounds fun, I'll have to admit.
All right, so good job. So that's our little episode on crystals, and I'm pretty sure 95% of our audience thinks I'm a complete quack now. But thanks for listening in. If you like the show and you want to let us know how we're doing, please leave us a review on iTunes. Or if you want to keep updated on our episodes coming out, if you're new to the show, please subscribe to us in iTunes. And if you need any more information, you can go to our website, enlightenup.us, And of course, we are on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can go over to those to get any updates throughout the week in between episodes and what might be coming up, and any little links to articles that may be helpful to further enhance what we've talked about in the episodes. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next time. Michael, Lisa, it's always a pleasure. Love you both.
Love you too, Nicole. I don't think you're quack.
You already know my opinion on that, Nicole.
Yeah, I know. All right, everyone. We'll check you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.